All right, and I think you have to accept. Okay. Recording. And then I'll send you the copy so that you have it.
Oh, okay.
I'll post it on Millionaire Flicks. I'll post it on my podcast, my YouTube channel, and all the social medias.
Everywhere.
Okay, yeah, exactly. Broadcasting everywhere. All right. So, hello and welcome again to On the Road to Success by Conversation. This is Neni Carolina Chacin here, and with me today I have Walter, who is actually in Switzerland, all the way across the pond from me in LA. And I wanted to share this with you, this amazing entrepreneur, because he is one of the people that I see every week on calls, doing business, doing deals, and coaching with a group of us that we share our coach, and it's really important for me to share the success of other people. It's important for you to know how other people succeed in their business, how other people get to that road to success with bumps, but actually they always succeed. And you have to have strength, and you have to have tenacity and persistence and consistency, and he is one example of that. So with that, please, Walter, thank you for agreeing to me to interview you, and thank you for being so kind, to share your time with us. And please tell us a little bit more about yourself.
Well, first of all, thank you, Nate, for having me on your show. My name is Walter or Schmid, as you have mentioned, and I'm the author on the book on super yacht sales, 7 Swiss top secrets to success. What I do is I help yacht brokers and also other companies in the sales process, also in the internal communication. If there is a crisis also, then that's me that will solve the problem, not only once, but mostly forever, because it's not about me by the end. It's about the people who learn how to deal with that. And yes, I'm in Switzerland, and it's a little bit colder than over there in LA, I guess so. And it's going to be a very interesting interview because the distances doesn't matter anymore nowadays.
That's right. The distance doesn't matter. Language barriers don't matter, and culture barriers don't matter. We really are together, and this pandemic has really leveled everything, has leveled businesses, have leveled relationships, and now we can connect very easily. Everybody's now familiar, finally, with all the technology I've been using since 2000. So many years. I think, actually, did you know that I was the first live streamer in 1996 in my university from Boston, from the US into Venezuela, and presenting in the university over there to the software engineering class over there. It was really, really amazing. And I said, well, we can do live streaming. And now everybody knows it, but it's taking some years to level the playing field and to really get people to know how to do this and really connect without any effort, and to know that this connection is just like in person. We can talk, we can share all our ideas, and we can do business, and we can grow. So, Walter, that's very interesting about your book, Secrets to Success. And tell us, like, what made you want to write that?
That's an interesting question. Well, first of all, I'm pretty impressed that you were the first one that has started streaming the Boston University. That says something to me as well. So I'm very honored to be on here on your show. Thank you very much again. And actually, what made me write the book? That's a good question. It was not desired, first of all. It was a coincidence which doesn't happen to me anymore. I call it differently than not a coincidence. And it just came up in a certain situation where I didn't know what to do and what shall I do as next. And then it came up to write a book in regard of something like super yacht sales, which I'm also in this field very deep inside. And I figured out there isn't a book. I wasn't sure whether there's no book at all, but I just felt like I need to bring in some information on how to sell in this particular market in combination with certain Swiss behaviors, typical certain Swiss behaviors. I mean, I call it a secret. Honestly, there are no secrets anymore on this world,
No.
but at least there are some points that I picked out and thought, well, that's just the right fit, and that's how I feel, and that's how I experience as well. How to get in touch with people, how to stay connected with those kind of people, and how to get noticed as well. So that was the starting point to write the book.
Oh, that's very interesting. So you identified something special about the culture that you knew enough information to put it together in a summary so that you can have a guide for others to sell yachts. And why do you think people are so much into yachts and the freedom of water? What is so special? What do you think is special about yachts or super yachts?
I think in general, it's yachts or super yachts. There is a slightly difference, which people sometimes don't know. What is the difference? We can call it also yachts sales. And it is a field, it is a market. When you step into that market, there are either way you love it or you hate it. Something in between is very rarely. And it is not only for the yachting industry. I figured out later on that the basics are the same, no matter what you sell, no matter where you are. Also, communication wise, it is always a basic behind everything. And then you go into particular niches within a conversation. And because I also studied psychology, certainly it was clear to me that I combined the knowledge experience from the psychological part, from the study, with the practices in the sales, with the knowledge from the yachting, that there is something that I can craft together, which turns out is pretty unique and is also accessible for and usable for any kind of sales activities you are in. So there is not only for yachts, but I went into yachting because it's just a passion. It's something that I'm really into. It's like a flower I just open up when I'm surrounded with yachts. So I decided to go at that part.
Awesome. So what was the first time that you went into a yacht in your life?
I started when I was 12 years on the Lake of Zurich with sailing, but sailing wasn't really my passion, but boating was. And it took a long time in between. I had a long break. And then my mother and her husband used to have a yacht on the Mediterranean Sea in Malta. That was the second time. And then also business-wise, I used to be a police officer on the sea, on the lake. It's like Miami Vice, it's kind of cool. And then I started going into the business of yachting as well. But also coincidentally, it wasn't the plan at first. But sometimes it just happened that you meet up with someone who tells you, you're the right fit for me. Oh, okay, what is it? Well, I will tell you later. Some months later, he told me, well, it's the yachting. Okay, cool. And that's how it started.
That's fine. So that tells me something very special. When I interview people, I realize that when they love to do something, they just fall into it, and then they discover they can do a business with it. And you have a love for the water. You were introduced by your family. You're growing up seeing yachts, seeing water, and then you just fell into it because you felt good. Something was connecting you with it, and then I can do a business with it, and then just roll. And then of course, being in Switzerland, you can do sales for high-end people with the high-end socioeconomic population over there, and then you can definitely sell. And then discovering that all the techniques that you were putting together in this book were actually could help people to translate it into another business. And then that's really finding the connection with anything outside what you're passionate in. I think that's a very, very key secret that I've seen in many people on the road to success. They really are niche, but they realize that the way they develop their business is really connecting with all the other businesses, and then they can expand and they can grow their business in ways like, for example, you have your book that helps people not only in yacht sales but could be in sales in general. So it could be an entertaining way to learn about sales without having the like a sales book, right? So that's really interesting, and I'm very proud of having you here. So
I think another point that comes into that is also that I was not only in those kind of sales, I was in so many different markets in sales. So I sold everything almost from the lowest price to the highest price. I met so many different people, and this diversification actually helped me as well to craft up a little bit of different content than typically a sales book does have. And this advantage is something that was the result with the book that helps a lot of people, of course, to start thinking differently in their sales process without changing everything that they are doing right now.
Yeah, that's fascinating, especially with your psychology background. Understanding, like, doesn't matter. You can scale something like from what the lowest price to some product or service that is very cheap to some product or service that's very high. The sales process, like you said, it really is the same. The psychology of selling is the same. And even if you have to deal with different cultures, with different people of different power of acquisition, then you can still adapt your rules with your psychological training, and also I imagine your police training. Tell us more about that. Like, how was that living the Miami Vice in Switzerland?
Well, when I started to be a police officer on the road, on patrol, as typically everyone has to do in Switzerland before you can enter the lake police. And when I finally ended up there, it was also training, beside the job anyway. You did the whole day long. You had the training, the extra training to become a valuable lake police officer with diving, with rescuing, and all those stuff. And that was kind of interesting because that unit, the lake police, used to be, and I think still is, that part or this organization within the police force that people love most. Because typically in summertime, when you are on the lake, you don't go for giving out tickets everywhere. You make your controls and you save people, and you save, maybe if it's windy, some people are lost with their sailing boats. So it's a very nice place to work, or used to be, at least. For right now, how it is, I heard, I'm not sure exactly, but it became a little bit more like office work than really on the sea, on the lake, or on the road. So it has changed, but it was a really great journey, 10 years in total. So I went through different departments there as well. Huge experiences I brought with me through that journey, and that helps me as well in of course, in the process of sales and communication, especially because the critical situations, I love those one the most.
So, what was tell us a story of something really challenging when you were on the yacht in one of your police working days. Tell us something that was challenging that you felt that you overcame.
Well, first of all, I think we can talk about yachts on the Lake of Surrey. We need to go back to the boats,
Yes.
size-wise.
Yeah.
But I think the biggest challenge was on a stormy day when we had to go out there to the lake, because we heard that there is a sailing boat just was drifting away from the harbor. Of course, it was luckily without anybody on board, but we had to save that sailing yacht. And it was pretty critical because the waves were high. We had a really heavy storm, which is not usually the case in Switzerland. We have too many mountains for that. But that was extremely challenging, also danger kind of, because we had to go close to the sailing boat, bring on somehow the ropes and secure it and bring it back to the harbor. And it took us about 2.5 hours in total, which is a very short distance. So we really had to fight against the wind and all those the waves and the power that came through us.
So, like, sort of the picture of the perfect storm. You have storm and you can drown. You can tip the police boat that's gonna rescue, and the other boat can also tip. Oh my god, it must have been really scary to see that. And of course, the feeling of having a storm in the sky. Things are black, probably they were dark, and was it raining still?
It was raining. It was not totally dark, but became dark. But I think that the most critical moments were really until we have the boat on the rope, fixed, ready to tow away. Because the waves, they were pretty high for a lake, at least. I mean, it's about 1 to 1.5 meters is extremely high for this kind of lake that we have.
Yes.
On the sea, it would be a little bit different. It's, of course, not comparable. But in terms of the situation, it was not easy. It was kind of danger. Scaring, yes and no. I wasn't really scared because you don't have time to be scared. Afterwards, when everything is done and you get back to the relaxed situation, or your behavior just changes a little bit for a moment until you are grounded again.
Yes, the adrenaline just kicks in and you're ready to go. So how do you think that that kind of energy and the adrenaline kicking in, how do you think you harness that into your business for the yacht sales? You know, because when you are in that situation, like a critical situation, there's so many things happening, so many things to coordinate. I can see how that trains you for all the business situations that can happen at the same time. Like how did you think you harness that energy for your business now?
I think the big advantage is that I'm used to situations where you don't have time to think, you have to act, and if possible, react. Typically, you have to act. And that helps me as well. Whatever happens, I can I can stay relaxed, sort of. So I take a step back and really think very quick, okay, what is next that is essentially important to take action on before I go for another one. I can't do everything at the same time, obviously. But I think that really helps me, and that's something that I brought out. And also energy wise, how do I manage my energy in terms of the action I need to take? And if it comes into a negotiation or a sales moment or situation where, of course, objections, they are always there present. And a lot of the salespeople, they are afraid of objections because they don't know how to handle it. They have fear of losing the deal. They're trying very hard to stick on the deal, and they go into a sales process, in a typical sales process that a client, whether it's consciously or unconsciously, realizes, oh, he wants to sell me something. And that creates even more fear once a salesman or woman realizes that. And that's my advantages I brought out from old experiences in the police, especially. Also afterwards, when when I used to sell weapons and ammunitions, that I could remain calm. It doesn't matter who was the client and how many people were there. I was just on the point, on the spot for myself. What is next I have to do? Whether it's right or wrong, that was afterwards the result. But at the moment, at the present moment, I was focused on one particular action to take.
Yeah, being focused on the present in the moment and not really like foreseeing any future mishaps, or just projecting whatever's going to happen in the future definitely helps on decision making and helps on keep and changing your decision for whatever you have to say, whatever how you have to change and pivot maybe the product and the service and adjust it to that client. And definitely sometimes staying in the past because some fear of some sale that didn't happen that is reminding you in the moment, that's not good either. And or projecting in the future, definitely those are the two situations that cause stress in anything in life, not just for sales decision, for anything, right? And so if being that that experience working with the police, making you really be there, and also the importance of just taking action and not think so much, but just taking action. And that definitely is a very seems to be a very valuable lesson that you've been able to take on for your business. That is really remarkable. I'm sure that everybody is like loving this and is going to be very is going to learn a lot from you. And one question I have, I love the water, and I'm a swimmer. I'm open water swimmer. I love being on the water. I don't dive, but I do long distance open water. I've done Alcatraz twice.
Oh,
Swam from Alcatraz to the Bay twice, and sometimes it feels like a washing machine. You know, it's very like a crazy wind. They don't let us swim if the waves are too high. So, but it could be very disturbing, a lot of disturbance. So I really understand the love of being in the water and everything. And I have done a race. I did a race from Falmouth to Nantucket in a little sailboat, and we won the race. So that was a lot of fun.
congratulations.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. It just happened to be my coworker did it every year, and she went every year, and she's like, "Can you want to come over?" And yeah, I didn't do much, just tip to one side, tip to the other. That's all I did, but it was fun. So I know. So what do you think that connection with being in the water brings to your business, because I know that earth, and some people like the earth and farming and gardening, and they find something special with that, and the people that like the water have something special about them. What do you think the water element and being in the yacht and all that environment brings you and brings to your business and your book, your book inspiration?
One part is the nature as such, because water to me is an element that is one of the softest elements, but at the same time, one of the hardest. I think there's nothing else more powerful than water. It depends how it occurs. And secondly is you can be either way on the water or in the water or under the waters. There are a lot of opportunities, diversification options to how to deal with the water. And I learned when I went to the lake police lately. I used to dive before already, but there I really learned what it means to go with the water, not against the water, how to use the power to your advantage. Typically people go against the water power, and there is no chance at all. And with the yachting, it has to do because, well, first of all, I love the yachting world just like that. I used to be a cabinet maker, of course. The interior of yachts is for me amazingly interesting, and also the construction, the technical part as well, and the people who are in this field. Not only the owners, but I talk about all those people who supply for this market, who maintain the yachts. They have a different mentality, which I just love. But I figured out also actually with my coaches together, as well as you know as well, I don't love particularly only the yachting. I started really to love the business as such, but within or with as well the yachting. So the diversity on how to or who to train or coach. I brought I broadened up, I widened it up after several coaches, and I just realized that if you love something, or if I love some things, it's right, it's okay, but I should not fall in love with the business that I'm doing particularly. But when I fall in love with doing business, no matter which business, then it is much more opportunities on the market.
Yeah, that's so true. When we realize that business is really a fantastic, being an entrepreneur and doing business in anything is really fascinating and exciting and challenging, and we find some sort of satisfaction with that, then we can pivot in any situation. And in this case, if people aren't going out because people can't travel, or people like in the pandemic, for example, then you have to have some other thing to anchor yourself and love, and have the enthusiasm to do the business regardless of what it is, and you have to pivot. So that takes me to the another question, then how did you, so with that, learning with from our coaches, because we have an amazing coach, JT Fox, and thanks to him, of course, I'm here in California, and when we love business, then we can pivot in the right way. And how did you pivot, once you learned that, and how was that affecting you during the pandemic, and how did you pivot in these times?
I think one of my advantages was always that I'm from Switzerland, not typically the right place to be with yachting together. So I used to be also on distance with possible clients, and then of course I traveled where it was necessary. But what I changed absolutely is to use much more, which actually I didn't use it at all, like the Zoom program or other programs, to communicate with people differently, that you can see each other, that you are almost like one-on-one, but on distance. Because that brought up a new option, a new opportunity on how to change a coaching structure. So rather than offering one-on-one live on spot, I figured out that people prefer sometimes even to go online, because time-wise, you save so much time. I was able, or actually I figured out that my ability to schedule more calls because of the pandemic, because I needed to pivot. People were not able, not allowed to travel. there was no other way. So double down actually your activities in certain places or areas is the opportunity in that.
Exactly. So people don't have to travel someplace. They don't have to schedule. They're at home and they just put everything. It's same thing happened to me. I definitely have had more Zoom calls after the pandemic than before the pandemic, and it was my goal is to actually to help people. Before it was to help people get online and have their business online and grow their business with these technologies. And now it was so easy to convince them that they can do business this way. Before I had to really work on them, and now it's so easy. People understand that this is just as good. Of course, there's something about the feeling the presence of the other person. There's definitely the need for a live interaction later, but you can do all the preliminary work of sales, getting to know each other. You said all the stuff, and then you meet. So that is it's a good point, and you definitely can you know tripled, quadruple, like it's your business just by incorporating all the technology that we have at our hands, the Calendly links, the Zoom links to share, the Messenger, the WhatsApp groups, the everything, the Facebook, the social media, everything is now at our disposition for using for our business. And now it's very clear to everyone how that works. And that it's very good that you were able to pivot and adapt to the online world.
I think that's also something that I learned also from JT, that in this time of the pandemic, a lot of people around me, they really reduced their workforce and they had to stay at home and they did nothing, let's say. And he always said, that's the time right now for sure not to take any holiday. That's the time to work on the business, whether you make money with it right now or not. But when you are right now at the edge of the technology and also in terms of your activity, once it opens up again, you are ahead of all the others. And that's absolutely what I'm totally into as well.
That's exactly right. Now that we've taken advantage and we've made ourselves present in the eyes of all these people that are home watching and seeing who's there, who's interacting, who's posting. They're just looking online, and if we're there in this moment, then they have us in mind, in sight, and therefore that we are going to be the first ones to be called when this goes back to normal. But I think that in the future is not going is it, when it goes back to a little bit normal, this is going to remain as something there, and that the business is now shifted into doing communication and interactions in a completely different way, because all the advantages and the low cost of us meeting, for example, here, I don't have to go to Switzerland, you don't have to come to LA. You know, it's just very simple, and even not even a phone call is not doesn't cost us a phone call. It's the same internet cost. So it's really a change in the mindset of people that didn't take advantage of this online system. So that is fantastic. So I want to ask you one last question about your business. So where do you think is the next step for your business to grow? What do you think is the next road to success? You've taken a road to success and gotten through the pandemic, and now things are starting to shift a little with the vaccinations, a little bit of opening of events. You know, people are more relaxed, and of course, they're tired already of being indoors. Or even if the pandemic doesn't end, they're just ready to go out. So, what is your next road to success?
Well, in terms of the reopening of the market, hopefully, I think the next step will be, or the next road will be to make the combination, to pivot a little bit back to the one-on-one on-site, but with the advantage of the preparation of the online channels to use. Because what I realized, when you can prepare each other before a meeting, you can take out so much value while you are meeting one-on-one, because everything else you can clear up before. You can prepare the ground floor for the real building up of a coaching, or maybe in a sales process for support of a company. I think that will be the next way to really pivot a little bit back to the one-on-one site on site, in combination, and perhaps as well that the expansion of using the technology for downloading programs more, but also again with a different communication style, because that will be my next book that I'm started working on. It will be a second book, also in terms of sales and communication. I don't know how I will call it. I don't say anything right now because otherwise you hold me accountable to the name. But it will be a change in the communication necessary, very necessary, because of the impact of the technology. I see that with the youngsters as well. What happens, it's kind of dangerous, sort of. But I'm trying to figure out what is the advantage that we can use for ourselves and also for the upcoming new generations.
Yeah, that's so great. So if everybody's listening to this, it's very key, So you're saying that we need to really stay on top of technology so we can take advantage of all the different things that we can really exponentially grow and take advantage of everything that's happening, because everybody's already open to that. So we just need to harness that technology and use it to our advantage, and at the same time then connected with what we used to know before, with that live interaction, the experience that you already built from before, to connect with the person with the people, with your target person in live, and then have a deeper conversation. Of course, everybody has gone through this lockdowns and pandemics and everything, and everybody's eager. So that's going to be, once it starts happening at the beginning, it's going to be very exciting. People are going to be really happy to meet in person and do business and feel how it was a little bit. But with that preparation of the online, the relationship will already be seasoned a little bit, and it will be ready and marinated just at the point where you can just close in person and then have it basically just celebrate in person. The meeting in persons will be just to celebrate the sale and celebrate the closing, and enjoy the yachts and enjoy the water. That's
Absolutely.
fantastic. Yeah. So, good luck with that book, the new book, and the communications that you're going to write. I wish you the best. So, one more, can you share with us, where can we find you? What is the best way to communicate with you? If somebody wants to buy a yacht or wants to learn about sales and business, where do we find Walter?
One of the ways is to go to businesssalesgrowth.com, which is one part, one opportunity. The other one is just take my name, walter-schmid.com, as well as a website that I maintain. And of course, on Facebook and LinkedIn, you'll find me everywhere when you're just looking for Walter Schmid. And Super Yacht Sales is also the podcast you'll find on Spotify as well and other places as well, Super Yacht Sales. Because interesting enough, that also figured out nobody else has written anything in terms of super yacht sales, which was interesting to me. I mean, I was not expecting that. Of course, it's good for me, and it's easy. That's why also to find me.
So, is the book about super yacht sales is on Amazon? Where do we find the book?
It's also on Amazon, but I recommend that you go to superyachtsalesnow.com. But first of all, it's a little bit less in investment for the book, and you get assigned ones. So I send it personally signed over to you, and
Nice.
you can easily get in touch. But yes, on Amazon it's also to find.
Okay, so if you go to Walter's website, like Super Yacht Sales, you get the book and you get a signed copy from Walter from Switzerland, directly from Europe. So it's going to be more valuable for you, and it's a bargain compared to the Amazon version. So it's really going to change your perspective on sales, on yacht sales, on the experience, and with the experience that Walter has as a yacht policeman in Zurich, and it's like the top engineering organization, very good reputation for that. Then you will learn how to communicate, how to do sales, how the psychology of the whole business and the sales. So make sure you get that book. Make sure you find Walter on LinkedIn, Facebook, and all the pages that he just said. Walter Smith as well in his website. So Thank you so much, Walter, for this interview. And I hope that my audience will love it. And I'm sure they will. And I can't wait to see you here in the US or in Zurich. So thank you so much. Any final words?
Well, thank you so much as well. It was an honor to me, Neni, to be on your show again. Actually, the first time, but that you invited me, that very high appreciated. And also, you are a very good communicator here on the interviews. I realized that. That's honorable, actually. And for the listeners, of course, stay safe, stay cool, do what you love, be aware of what you do all the time to make sure that you make your way, you will do it. And I promise you, when you are persistent, you will reach the goals you have set for yourself.
Thank you. And until the next time, à la prochaine fois. And we'll see you soon.